Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I just had something that ran a little late, so I'm here.
That's all right, man. No problem. You're the man of the hour. So I was starting to have to look up some of my own tips and tricks for Instagram if you didn't show.
Sorry if that was awkward. I apologize.
No, you're good. Of course. Um, I'm excited because initially, I guess there's a limit on Eventbrite, and it was capped to 50 people. We had to open it up. So now we're expecting somewhere in the realm of, let's say, 60 to 70 people. So um, thank you guys all for joining us today. David actually did. We met via Instagram, and I was always a big fan of his reels. I thought they were always equally fun and educational. So we had him on our podcast, Light It Up, a few months back, and he was, probably one of the most viewed episodes. One of the episodes that I, get a lot of feedback on from viewers and subscribers. So if you guys haven't checked that out, definitely check out the Light It Up podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. David's episode was honestly one of our favorites. And then he had hosted a similar webinar to the one we'll do today that I attended about a week or 10 days ago, where he was just sharing some tips and tricks that he commonly uses on Instagram. And I said, you know what, why don't we have him as a host on our webinar? We're starting to do more lighted up webinars. We're trying to do one of these every Wednesday with a different co-host. So without further ado, David, we'll have you take it away, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. So I did this version of this. I think it was last week, and I had a lot of people show up. So if you're on that, this is just going to be a replay of that. But I know there were some people that maybe had questions that I was not able to get to. So I don't know if I'll have the opportunity for that. But yeah, I just wanted to I did this last week just because I get a lot of questions through Instagram and DMs about how I'm utilizing Instagram to grow my business. And that's really what I've utilized over the last several years to generate buyer and seller leads, which of course lead to closings. And so I've done that through posting, through stories, through reels. So it's multifaceted, but happy to share just what I've learned. I've never gone through a formal coaching program through Instagram or anything like that. So this is all just like trial and error, what's worked for me, what's not worked for me. And so I thought I would just kind of share just like tips and tricks that you can take away today and implement on your Instagram. These can relate to Facebook maybe or TikTok, but we're going to mainly kind of just focus on Instagram because that's where I mainly show up every single day. So a little bit about me, been in real estate. This will be my 5th year. I sell in San Diego where I live, and then I also sell in the Twin Cities in Minnesota where I am from. So I've got a small team there, but all my leads come through Instagram. So that's how I'm generating a lot of clients remotely. So this actually does work, and I'm actually practicing it because I don't actively lead generate in Minnesota. And I think I did maybe 20 to 25 units there, having not done anything. Like literally, it's just been posting and engaging with people through Instagram. So it's super profitable, and that's why I really love Instagram, and it's really fun. So we're gonna start here. So the tip I would just start with, looking to set up your Instagram profile to grow your reach, to grow your business, is just to have a public profile. So there's still a lot of people out there who have private accounts. If you're wanting to grow, you're wanting to reach an audience, it's going to be very difficult to do that if you have a private account, because if someone follows me and they have a private account, I'm not going to request you to follow me. I'm not going to request to follow you because I know nothing about you. And so I'm not gonna click that and ask to follow you. So make your account public. If you are not wanting to share certain things, or you want to keep things private, and that's why you have a private account, my advice to you is just to be mindful of what you're sharing. Like if there are certain things that are off limits and you don't want the world to know, don't share that on your Instagram. And so that's the beauty of Instagram, is you can choose what you post on there. So I would say have a public profile and then be mindful of what you're posting on there if that is a concern for you. Number two is to have a professional picture. It should be your headshot. It should be the same across all your social profiles, because that's part of your branding. So a lot of times I get people following me and it's like this like selfie of them like in their car or like on vacation, which I think is, good for a specific reason, but if you're looking for, to grow your reach, to attract clients, you want to have a professional photo and you want it recognizable across your social profiles. So it should be the same one as LinkedIn, same one as Facebook, same one as TikTok, same one as Instagram. So make sure it's professional photo with your face so you can see. Don't have your little logo on there or anything like that. Like, have your face on there, and it should be professional. And then in your bio on Instagram, have your accolades, have the location you serve, have just like maybe something about you, just like organized neatly. So when someone goes to your page on Instagram, it's public. They know where you live, they know where you serve, they know you're professional, or maybe a link tree link in there. But it should be just like a really short bio, an elevator pitch of who you are, where you sell, etc. So make sure that's nice and organized. You can look at mine. It's changed over the years, but I think it just kind of shares a little bit about me. So I'm an agent, where I live, and I'm, actively selling. So the number 4, I would say, and I think a lot of us are getting better at this, at least from what I've seen, is just not posting just your just solds, just your coming soons, just your new listings. I mean, it's remarkable the amount of people that, they'll follow me and I'll click on their profile and I have no idea even what their name is. It's just their brand. It's just like their real estate company name, like selling Arizona or something. It's like, okay. And then it's everything is a coming soon. Everything is an open house. Everything is a pending. And you're like, I literally don't even know what you look like. Are you male or female? Like, I know nothing about that. And so with Instagram, it's such real estate so relational, and it's really hard to connect with someone when all you're seeing is like how great they are with their open houses and pendings. I think there's a place for that on your feed, just to show credibility, show you're actively selling. Like, don't not post that, but it should be a very, very small part of your strategy on Instagram. So please include other things, other aspects of your life, would be my advice for you. And so, like I said, people start to tune that stuff out after a while, right? Like, it's just not engaging. So my advice is to sprinkle that in every now and then just to show you're active, but please do not make that just like the overall theme of your page, because you're gonna not get engagement. Okay, so number 5.
So don't fill your feed with all Canva posts. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Guys, we all have that same Canva template that's
Yeah.
just listed, just sold. We've all paid the $3 or $5 off of Etsy for that starter kit that's got all 100 templates included, and it's good. You have to start somewhere, and I think what we've found is that by sprinkling them in every now and then, to show that of course you're active, it's great, but also it doesn't show your vulnerable side. It doesn't show your personality. It's almost like, tell people you're active, tell people what you recently sold through a story or through something interesting that happened in the transaction, without necessarily just being that generic post from
And I think I remember in the beginning I would do that, like open house, and like that was just to get like, ooh, he's active, he's selling. I think there's a time and a place for that, but I think as you grow and develop in your career, your content should be more relational, more engaging, because I found that people just will just scroll past that, and not engage, which is just not what you want. Okay, so Number 5 is to share personal posts so people know you're real. And so this is, going to be up to you and how much you want to share on your Instagram and, what you don't want to share on Instagram. So I share on my feed, right? The actual photos on the grid, like that's the feed. That's where stuff lives, indefinitely, essentially, unless you do something with it. But I share personal stuff on there. I share my reels and things like that on there too. But I found that, people really like the personal stuff as well. Like they like, you know, my kid's birthday or my anniversary or a family photo at Christmas time. Like that's the stuff that people really enjoy. And so don't be afraid to share personal posts like that, and you get to determine how much of that you want to share. But highly encourage that as part of your strategy, because that's the stuff that people relate to. And at the end of the day, people will work with those they know, like, and trust. And so that's kind of going along with the whole just listed. It's hard to relate to that. It's hard to get to know someone through that. So don't be afraid to share personal posts, just to show that you're a real person. So, we know how much, you sell a ton and you have an other open house. That's great, but sprinkle in the human aspect of that so people can feel like they know something about you. So they're much more likely to recommend you to a friend, or give you, a call when it's time for them to buy or sell.
David, you often share on your story videos of you eating in your car,
Yeah.
another meal, another lunch, or another dinner. And I think you were talking about like doing your meal prep, and then I see you every Saturday or Sunday. I sound like I'm watching you from afar. Uh, doing your meal prep, and honestly, you doing your meal prep every Sunday or Saturday, whenever you do it, has made me actually get back into doing it for myself. So I went on Amazon, I bought the containers you recommended, and it's just an example of like how I related to you and how I used to do that and how I often am eating in my car. So it's just being vulnerable and like silly stuff like that you do throughout your day. I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all just like, being relatable, and being relatable, but still like, oh, he's a realtor, right? Like he's eating his car because he's on appointments or in between appointments. Like, and that's the whole goal, is just to show that you're a real person, but you're actively still selling and you're still busy. Because the whole goal, especially with stories, is just top of mind, top of mind, top of mind, top of mind. So when that time comes when they need to sell, their mom needs to sell, their friend at work needs to sell, it's like, oh, I have someone for you. So that's the whole relatability thing that I share with on stories, especially, just to show like real life, to build that connection, that human connection, to show that I'm, a real person. So, okay, so the number 6, I'd say, is to just be consistent with your posting. And so this can be different for everyone, but I would say at least like 3 times a week on your feed, and at least 1 or 2 stories a day. Um, I hope everyone knows the difference between stories and feeds. So your stories is basically where, 24 hours it starts over, kind of goes away. But you should be posting to Instagram several times a week. You can't do once a week and just be done with it. You can't do a story a week and just forget about it. It's daily, several times a day, to really gain momentum and start building those relationships. So it's that consistency, 1 to 3 times, I would say, you're on your feed every single week, and then your story should be. I mean, I do my story every couple hours, depending on what's going on in my day and like if I have more content or like just stuff I want to share. And sometimes it's just my mood too, like if I feel like sharing more. But it should be, your stories should be, I'm like every 2 hours personally. It doesn't need to be that much. That might sound overwhelming to you, but at least 1 to 2 times a day for stories if you're just starting out and trying to kind of get that muscle working. So you have to be consistent, and Instagram will reward you for that. And so number 7 kind of ties in that. So using stories to deepen the relationship and show the behind the scenes of being a realtor. So just like John was saying, I do my meal prep on the weekends. I do it on Sunday. Sets me up for the week. And that's the stuff, honestly, like meal prep is something a lot of people can resonate with. Like, I don't understand why it's so engaging for people, but I get a lot of comments and just engagement DMs about the meal prep. People are curious about like the seasoning or like the containers and things like that. So, I mean, sometimes it's just the silliest things that show that like human element of you that is the most engaging for people. And so don't be afraid to, you know, use your stories to deepen the relationships. It's really just like the stories is just kind of like an opportunity to open up conversation with people, right? And so that's kind of what I've utilized stories for. That just like opens the wave of you know, the channel of communication. Like, I'll just give an example of a story I did. So I did a reel last year, and this gal found me on Instagram, followed me, whatever. And then they start watching my stories, and they start, you know, engaging with me, liking, you know, maybe they like stuff, maybe they don't. But I posted that in my story. I got a flyer for an open door. Like we'll sell your, you know, whatever. We all get those, right? Like, sell your house open door. And I posted it, I don't even think I showed the value or anything, but I just basically posted it, put on my story and said like, open door, like, was a ripoff offering to sell my house for whatever, way under market value. But that girl then, that opened up conversation about them selling. It's just like, oh, we're building right now, we're on the wait list, blah, blah, blah. Conversation just started happening over months and months. Ended up meeting with them, ended up helping them buy a house. They didn't build. I ended up selling their house, found the buyer for their house. They referred me now. Like, this was all literally last year, and it all started with a reel and then just posting the stories to deepen that relationship. So that's just, and they probably made me like $100,000 last year in GCI just with like 3 transactions. So our price point's higher, so it helps. But you don't know, right? Like, what something is going to lead to. So start with the reel, utilize story to build that relationship, and just like, it was very natural. It wasn't salesy in any way, but it just opened that channel of communication where she felt comfortable then like sharing their budget, sharing this, asking to meet. And so yeah, it just kind of naturally progressed, but it was all with honestly stories where that relationship started to deepen. So don't be afraid to use that. So I'm looking at my notes here. So then number 8 is to use reels. So we all know reels is short form content. I think it's like up to 1.5 minutes now. And so I grew actually my Instagram quite a bit through reels in 2022. But that was a great way for me to showcase a little bit more of my personality, a little bit more about the real estate market, teach people about what's going on in the market. And so don't be afraid to utilize short form content. You know, it's still pretty popular on Instagram. And so, you know, so the algorithm will kind of put more weight on it. So I would definitely, if you've never done a reel before, that's okay, but you should be getting on short form content to grow your reach. Because like I said, it's really just the short form content, the reel is to get found, and then you want to build the relationship through the story. And so, you know, it's like the reel attracts them, and then it's that story where you know, that one-to-one conversations, that's where that stuff kind of develops and deepens. So, but don't be afraid to use the reels to grow your reach. You can be funny, you can be relatable, you can be informational. It's really just, what is your personality style? Like, I'm actually not a super, I don't think I'm very funny. Like, I'm just not super, like, I don't joke a ton. But like, I've found like all my reels, a lot of them are very comedic and relatable in that way. And so sometimes you can surprise yourself with just like creativity, and you know, your true self can kind of come out through those reels. So it's a lot of fun. But Don't be afraid to show your personality through your short form content, whatever that is for you. Like I said, if you're funny, if you're relatable, sometimes it's just informational, sharing about the market. So reels are still a thing that I would focus on for this year.
David, real
Yeah,
quick on that topic, anybody who's seen you post, and the majority of your reels, I would say, are filmed from the seat of your car.
yeah,
I think a lot of people spend time overthinking, do I have a nice background like you have right now? Do I, is the lighting right? Do I like what I'm wearing? Do I
yeah.
wait until I get my hair cut tomorrow? Like, talk to us about some of the thoughts that go through your head, and whether or not certain things matter, how many takes it takes you sometimes to get things right, how much time they should be spending on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it kind of depends on what the reel is. Like if you're going to be doing like I guess it would be lip syncing or whatever, or to like some sort of audio, that can be tricky because you don't want it off like at all. And so that sometimes can take me a long time. Um, you know, Nothing more than like 20 minutes, but it just feels, take after take after take after take, just because if your words are off, like it's just not going to land. It's just not going to do well. So that can take a while. I would say some of my informational stuff, like talk about the market or a headline or anything like that, things can take me sometimes like 30 minutes because I don't write a script. I just like, it's all in my head. Like all night, I've been doing a lot of like the talking with the green screen, like an article behind me. I don't, I don't rehearse those. I don't script it. I don't, it's literally just like, what do I want to say, and then say it. And so, of course, you mess up your words, and you don't want to mess up your words like that. So it can take a few times to do that, just to come across as an authority figure. You don't want to be saying and fumbling or not looking at the camera or anything like that. So it takes practice, but so like I said, it kind of depends on what your message is, and if it's lip syncing, it can take a little bit. Nothing more than like 20 or 30 minutes it should be taking you to do, to film the reel. If you don't like the way you look, do a filter. Instagram has some really great filters. If you found one you like, save it and just utilize that. So nothing wrong with using a filter. I use a filter because it helps my face look better. So there's nothing wrong with that. With using a filter, if you look, if you don't like the way you look, you don't like the way your voice is. Um, Sorry guys, that's the way you look and that's the way your voice is. So you might as well just get over that and post the video anyways. And the great thing with that is you end up attracting those your people. If someone doesn't like your voice and someone doesn't like the way they look, they're probably going to not follow you anyways, and so they probably wouldn't work with you anyway. So it kind of just like weeds out the people that you wouldn't have worked with anyways. So sometimes I get hate on my reels. I haven't in a while, but a lot of last year I got a lot of heat, a lot of trolls, a lot of just like really aggressive people that just attacked a lot of things about me, which is just more on them than anything. But yeah, I do a lot of my reels in my car because I've got 4 kids, and they're 8 and under, and so there's just not a lot of time to get quiet in my house, and so my car is really where I have focused time. The lighting's good, and I just can pound out some reels. So it's just very much who I am. And like I said, if someone is bothered by that, probably if that's going to bother you, probably wouldn't be a good fit to work together. So you can kind of just weed those out. But yeah, they can take a little while, but do them where you can. Like that's the biggest thing is like do them where you have the opportunity to. So, and that was for me, it was in my car. So reels are a great way to grow. There's a right and wrong way to do reels. And again, it's all by trial and error. So, yeah.
Do you sometimes look back at the reels you've made in the past, like maybe not a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and like you just sort of, I mean, we're our own biggest critic. So a lot of
Mhm.
times you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that was like, I know like when I look back at some of our first podcasts, I see myself tripping up over words, talking over the co-host, talking over the guest. And there's so many things that you're like, oh man, I could do that so much better, or I need to work on that. Would you say it's sort of a learning experience for you over time?
Yeah, for sure. Like if I look at my first several reels, like they're brutal. Like they're so bad. Um like real bad. And I was getting like no views on them. But you get better over time, and you learn. Yeah, you start to learn like what's gonna land, what's not gonna land. In the beginning, I had no idea, right? Like I thought this was gonna really do just like amazing, and like got like 1,000 views, and like this is a terrible idea, and I got like 52,000 views or whatever. So yeah, it's a learning experience, and yeah, you get better with each one. Um, yeah, my first ones were pretty rough, and I can tell some of my stuff, like even this last year was like I could tell I was just putting out content to put out content, but that stuff still went really well. Like it still did really well. So
Yeah.
it's a learning experience, it's like, yeah, don't be too hard on yourself with some of that short form content, because um like I said, if someone doesn't like you because of that, probably weren't going to work with you anyways. um
In in my in my experience with talking with people like you who definitely have the following that you have and the experience that you have, it's just a constant learning curve. Over time, your lighting's going to get better, your scripting's going to get better, your your hook is going to get better. The overall experience is just going to get so much better, right?
yeah,
Your editing, even if it's just short form, quick editing, is going to look that much better. So I think people just need to realize that the first few reels or the first piece of content you put out there, they're going to suck, right?
yeah.
In your opinion, like looking back on it 6 months ago, 9 months ago, it's not going to be the best. The stuff that you're putting out today is going to always be better than what you put out a few months ago. So the goal though is just to be consistent, keep putting it out there and keep working on ways to improve it.
Yeah. And like if you're not doing them consistently, like you're never really going to get better, right? Like the more you do, the more you learn, the better you get, the quicker you get. Um, and so, yeah, if you're doing one a month, like your learning curve is going to be forever, and then the algorithm's going to change, and you're going to just miss it. So, yeah, that's where you should be doing a lot to really get good at them, get proficient with it, be quick at them, so it's not taking 4 hours to do a reel that gets 700 views and 18 likes. We all start from somewhere, and so yeah, it's just doing them more. It just speeds up that learning curve so that you continue to get better quicker.
Yeah.
So yeah, reels are great. They made me a lot of money last year, so do not neglect them.
Awesome.
Um, so number 9 is to tag the location when possible to attract more local followers. So I've used this strategy, um, just algorithmically speaking. Instagram, it's gonna pull then people from that location. So if I do a post in San Diego or Oceanside or Carlsbad, or like all these suburbs here, I take that location just to hopefully draw in people from that location, and that's just a way to hopefully get found on more local followers. Because in your stories you can see like, oh, San Diego, 28 people viewed that. So you never know. It's not like this big like thing, but it's just kind of a piece of the pie. When you're posting, you might as well get as much of the algorithm working for you and tag that location, whether it's a feed post or a story. So, if you don't want it to show, just like hide it under the little screen, you know what I mean? On your story. So it doesn't show like, oh, I'm in San Diego, but it will show up on that location story. Um, so I've actually got 15 of these. If you guys want me to, I've got 15 tips and tricks. So,
We're good on time. We'll
okay.
do the 5 extra bonus
Five freebies.
tips.
So
Let's do it.
number 10 is to follow, engage, comment on other like locals news pages, and posts. So like one of the a few influencer will say out here, like, um, I'll follow their posts, and they're nothing to do with real estate, but it's like mom play dates or something like that. But like, or like San Diego tourism, and like she posted about San Diego, did a reel about San Diego and like how once you come here, everyone's like, "Ooh, should I move here?" And I was looking at all the comments, and everyone was like in love with the city. So I started like commenting back, or adding to their comment, like, "Oh, I love it too," or someone's from Minnesota, so I commented to her, and then she followed me, and so it's just like a great way to get connected with other local people who are not agents, and just show engagement for like another business owner, or another influencer not in the real estate space but is local to your market, because there might be a lot of crossover with followers. And so that's a really good way. Sometimes it's even uh, like NBC San Diego, like we'll put out an article or something like that about the city, and then I'll go through comments and try to engage, not stir the pot or anything like that, but just genuinely try to engage with people who are local to the city as well. So you want to come across as polished and professional, so don't be stirring the pot or making negative comments on those pages. But that's a really good way to kind of get engaged and grow your following locally and very organically. So that can lead to other things. But okay, so number 11 is to respond to DMs, comments, etc. So especially with comments on your feed and things like that, like I tried, it's really hard, I will say. Like sometimes there's just a lot of comments, but you should be responding to comments when someone wishes you a happy anniversary, or your kid a happy birthday, or something about your listing, or the reel you just did. You should be engaging with that just to get your comments up, and like just not to be rude to someone. So make sure you are responding to other people's comments when they comment on your page. And then same thing with DMs, right? Like Instagram tracks that. They tracked if you're responding to DMs and how much is coming through your DMs, and like that's all part of the algorithm. So make sure you're responding, and even if it's like in your like hidden folder, whatever it is called, and then your general folder, maybe that's just me. I have like all 3 folders in my DMs. So make sure you're checking all of them, make sure you're responding to everyone, because like I said, that's all part of the algorithm, and Instagram rewards you for engaging with that. Okay, so number 12, we kind of talked about this, but it's all about trial and error to find what lands and what doesn't land. So my Instagram has definitely evolved over the last several years and months, especially. And so if you look at some of my other stuff, is just like super, just cringe. Like if you look at it, it's just so bad. Just the filters and like, oh my gosh, it's just so bad. But I'm not going to archive it. I'm not going to hide it. It's just, it is what it is. It lives there. So a lot of it is trial and error. And kind of the same thing we talked about with Reels. So you don't always know what's going to land and what's not going to land. And the more you post, the better you can get at that. And yeah, so now when I post, like I pretty much know, like I know the types of stuff that doesn't do well, and I know the types of stuff that does well. But it's not going to keep me from posting something because I know it's only going to get 6,000 views or whatever. But it's all trial and error, right? Like I don't know this now because I've just been posting for so long. Like I know what my audience likes, what the algorithm is going to reward, etc. So it's all trial and error. But in the very beginning, like even 18 months ago, there was stuff like I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. And, it just didn't do well. And then this is terrible, or it's not even funny. And it just like took off. So it's all trial and error. And you won't ever know until you're consistent with that. So just remember that. Okay, so
David, where would you say you get the majority of your topics from? Is it just you going about your daily routine in the real estate business, and something comes to you and you're like, oh, okay, this could be good content? Or Is it maybe an interaction with a client where you're like, oh, I didn't realize that buyers, it's not obvious to buyers that they have to put down a deposit. So I'll talk about that a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about where your ideas come from.
Yeah, I think it they just kind of come to me, I will say. Like there's um no secret to them. I mean, I think a lot of times, like if it's an audio or something, um I so last year I did a lot of like the lip syncing and like talking about the market, which I've not done as much this year just with the market change. It's just not been my strategy. Um so a lot of times when I'm trying to find an audio, like last year I would like close my eyes and I would just listen to audio and see if there's some sort of scenario that I could tie that audio to real estate. And I would close my eyes because sometimes like seeing the person doing the reel just kind of like killed my like how can I bring that to real estate. So it just helped me creatively, but I would just close my eyes and like save the audio if I felt I had something that I could relate it to. Um and yeah, and then it would just come to me, like I would listen to audio again and it's like either I would run with that idea that I kind of had or an entirely new idea would come. So it was all just very much like how can I relate this? Like, what's going on in the market right now? What are the questions people have right now? What are the struggles people are having right now? What are the issues we're running into? What's the fears right now? And just trying to marry the two, the audio versus the issue. So it did sometimes, but it didn't take me longer than I mean, some it's like just I got it. It just came to me. So you shouldn't be
I would
spending
say
a lot of time on that.
personally, I think one of the reasons you've been so successful is because the reels that you're doing, I'm not seeing a lot of other people do, right? Like we've all seen the realtor do the TikTok where they point to here's 5 reasons why, and that's been overdone 20 times over. But what I think you do creatively is you take maybe sometimes it's an audio file that somebody else is using for some other business that has nothing to do with real estate, and you sort of turn it into a real estate reel, um, which you know that from my perspective, I see you having a lot of success with that. And I know recently we had a woman on the podcast. Her name is Bethany Nolan. If you guys haven't followed her, definitely check her out on Instagram. She does a lot of really interesting and creative reels. And one of the things that she told us was, she's like, I try to just follow people in other industries. Like one of the guys that she talked about was, he's known as the finance cowboy. He's just
Mhm.
like this Southern dude who wears a cowboy hat and just gives a lot of real estate tips, and a lot of more finance tips, I should say. And she'll turn them into some more specific real estate tips. Or she even said, I just look for like infographics on Pinterest, that will explain things in real estate, and then I'll turn that into a reel or a speaking point.
Yes.
So just some other ideas for you guys.
Yeah. I follow Bethany as well. Yeah, I purposefully, that's actually one of my tips is just um, not doing what others are doing. I mean, I think that's easy and natural for a lot of people in real estate, especially like, oh, we're so busy. I don't know how to do it. I don't have any ideas. Like, I'm just going to like, can I mimic that? Like, I guess, but like part of me, I I genuinely think my reels last year were like funny. Like they were funny to me. Like that's my humor. And so not to say they were so great, but like I can still look a lot back at them, and a lot of them are like that's super, like that's so funny. Like I love this. And that's why I post them. I don't like just redoing what someone did. Like it I feel like I'm not getting the credit if it mine does well. Like I want to create my own content. And so I very, very, very rarely, I don't think I've ever, I mean, there's been like a couple times it's like, oh, that's good. I'm just gonna like do that one. But that's happened maybe one or two times. But most have always been my own idea, my own spin on something. Just because I do want to be proud of the content I'm putting out. Um, and I think it's not funny to me if it's just copied from someone else. Like it's just, if it's a different industry, like that's different. But I think a lot of agents will just like can I do this? And you're just like, okay, yeah, I guess. But it's just, it loses its appeal to me. And maybe that's just me, but I would just say, yeah, don't always just repost, redo, remake what another agent is doing, even though we're in different markets, even though we're different people, like all of that. Um, because that's just how I am. So try to be creative, try to be unique. I think it is helpful to find other people in different industries, but that's part of the reason why when I'm looking for audio, I will close my eyes to just like try to really relate it to real estate, um, and be original and not just copy someone else. Um, okay, so number 14 is to be yourself. So I talked a lot about that. Um, as far as like people don't like the way you look, people don't like the way you sound, like people make fun of my hair, people like tell me I haven't been selling long enough, people tell me like all these things. People call me the scum of the earth. Like these are all been like names I've been called on Instagram, and that's okay. Like it is what it is. Like people just have a lot of issues. So don't be afraid though to show up authentically, and be yourself. And yeah, you will get those comments every now and then. Like that's just how it is. Unfortunately, the world we live in. But you end up attracting your like-minded people. Whether it's an agent, whether it's clients, whether it's local people or not, like you end up attracting the right type of people. So there's people that have probably seen my stuff and won't follow me, and that's okay. That I don't want them following me. If you don't want to follow me, if my voice bothers you, don't follow me then. And so if you show up authentically and as yourself, you end up working with those people who like you, enjoy you, and those are the best kind of clients, right? Like they end up being your biggest fans. Like the one who's now referred me, that found me on a reel, and they're open. Like they've referred me. We've had them out for dinner. I've been to their house for dinner. Like that's the kind of clients you want to end up attracting. So show up authentically, be yourself. You will get some hate, I'm sure you will. Um, the trolls are out there. They're always like no profile picture and like cat like 909 is their name, like whatever. It's totally fine. I end up either clapping back or just blocking them. But don't be afraid to show up as yourself.
David, did you ever go through a period where you got any, not pushback, maybe pushback's probably not the best word, but any grief from any of your friends or like family? Like I know when I first started putting out some content, again, I don't do it nearly at the level that you do, or as well as you do, but I had certain groups of friends, whether it be buddies from high school or just, friends from growing up, that would be like, oh man, here's some more content, and like, they bust your chops about it. Did you ever
Yeah.
have to go through anything like that? I think a
You
lot of
know,
people struggle to put stuff out because they're afraid of what their like friends and family might say.
yeah. I actually didn't. I mean, not like no one actually physically told me. Um, I think honestly, like probably my sister-in-law like unfollowed me, but that's totally fine. Like I really don't even care. Um, no, I will say like you don't like my content. Like I don't care. I make like 5 times the amount of money you do every year. So if you don't like what I do for a living, you're probably not going to refer me. You're probably not going to, yeah, send me business or work with me. So it's fine. Like if I bother you, sorry, but this is how I generate income for my family, and that's really what is important to me. So, but I didn't ever get heat or, um, you know, anything from actual friends or family.
Yeah, it's
Um,
always interesting. If I have a friend who starts a business, I'm going to do everything I can to try to support them and go to their restaurant if they just started. And, that's how we all build each other up. But, sometimes the experience is not that. So,
really, yeah, and I will say, like a lot of my content, I try to be mindful. Like, is this annoying? Is this helpful? That is part of my like the underlying theme of my content is to be value add, right? Not just to be, not everything is like super insightful. Some of it's just comedic, but I don't want to come across as like super annoying, right? So even if you're not in the industry or in the market, is my stuff funny to you at least, or provides some sort of value? So I
Okay.
do keep that in mind, and maybe that's why you know my friends and family haven't like completely given me backlash over some of my content, but um, I
So
would
is it
say,
fair to say before you put out a reel, not your story, but reels, you're saying to yourself, hey, will people find this either A, valuable or at least mildly entertaining?
yeah, yeah, or it's like, oh my god, or just making fun of the agents in the industry. Like sometimes that's just like very relatable, and I'm just like, this is driving me insane. I need to make some sort of content on this. Um, but yeah, I do want to make sure my content is adding value. At the end of the day, my entire goal of Instagram is to add value in some way, whether that's educational, comedic, um, insightful, something like that. I don't just want to be flailing and dancing on Instagram um, just for
How,
attention.
how do you make sure you don't cross the line? You see a lot of agents these days that seems to be the popular trend to be making fun of, like, the dad that ruins the home inspection, or um, making fun of buyers and sellers, making fun of our clients. Is there a line there? How do you make sure that you don't cross it? Because of course the whole goal of this is for, showing your vulnerable side. It is for attracting, of course, future clients, and staying top of mind with current clients. But how can you cross that line? How can you get to the line without, I guess, crossing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that stuff is just completely overdone and is just not funny anymore. Um, but yeah, you should not be necessarily making fun of clients um, just because, yeah. So if you're posting it and you're like, okay, someone who just found me on Instagram is coming to my page, like you got to think like, are they going to think this is funny? Are they uh, going to find this insightful, value add? Um, yeah, you have to be careful with that. Like, I think a lot of my stuff in 2022 was making light of the market rather, and just the struggles a lot of agents were experiencing. Um, I do think there are people who make fun of clients, and that's just not a road you want to go down. Um, Whether they follow you on Instagram or not, but like everyone on your Instagram is a potential client or a referral partner or something like that. So you do want to be careful of how you come across, if it's condescending or you don't want to kind of blur those lines or anything like that. So you want to be informational. You want to come across as an authority figure. Let your humor show if that's who you are, but yeah, you should not be making fun of clients.
Totally. Okay. So we'll let you wrap up with point 15, just because I want to leave a few minutes here for questions and answers at the end.
Yeah. Okay, so it's to get over your fear of the camera and the hatred of your voice. So I kind of talked about this already, but I think everyone at some point hates the way they look, hates the way they sound, or like thinks they don't look great on camera or whatever. And so, like I said earlier, it's just the reality of what you look like and what you sound like. So don't let that be a deterrent for you from making content. Um, those things we can't change, right? And so you've got to make a living. You might as well get on camera and start, generating some business, whether you like the way you sound or not. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with using a filter on Instagram. There's some really natural looking filters, which I would recommend you use over something extremely glittery and fake. Sometimes people's filters are a little intense. So use a filter just to like soften up some things if you've got things going on. There's nothing wrong with that, but just you've got to get over your fear of being on camera or sounding stupid or anything like that. And like we talked about earlier, it's just you start here and then you eventually get better and better and better. The more you do, the more less the best, the less fumbling and less takes and things like that. So um, you've got to go over your fear of the camera.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think this has been very, very helpful. I know a lot of people had questions going into this, and I'm thinking that maybe we've sparked some more questions as you've spoken today. Let's see, Beth Smith. Other than the private accounts, do you recommend following everyone who follows you?
No. I don't follow nearly the people that I will only follow someone I have some sort of relationship with. Um, but sometimes people will, follow me. They have a private account, and I don't like. Then I get a request, and then it's just if I don't know, I don't want to have all these. I want to like be. I don't want my feed full of all these people I don't know. So, I would not recommend following everyone.
Right, and then I guess the second part of that question was, I've heard that you should make sure you have more followers than accounts that you follow, starting out so that the numbers are low on both sides.
Yeah. I think a lot of people put more weight on that than they should. Yeah, you don't want to be following 10,000 people and have like 200 followers or 300 followers. Yeah, I mean, I think my ratio is I think I have like 19,000 and like maybe 2,000 I'm following. So yeah, you shouldn't just be like follow, because for me, Instagram is like, again, that relationship building tool. And so you don't want to have all these like people that you follow and then like no relationship with them. So, but I wouldn't put so much weight on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Holden, can you just elaborate on that question? Do you have any strategies for close friends?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
There's a feature on Instagram where you can highlight either your close friends, and you can create content that only they see. And in your stories, it shows up as a green emblem. And I found it by somebody added me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm that privileged to be included as their close friend. And so I've taken kind of like my top 25 in my sphere as like, hey, these are my A's, these are my referrals, these are my partners. But David, do you do anything with the close friends of how you're building up your intimate circle, maybe, or your closest friends?
I haven't done close. I do have a close friends group. I don't really do much with it. Initially, when I first moved to San Diego, I made that because I was like so scared of like people on Instagram in Minnesota, like thinking I didn't live there, knowing I didn't live there, sell there. And so I was only like posting San Diego on that because it was too much, too messy, too complicated. People will use, the close friends feature for, like something more personal, like maybe it's your kids or something like that. Like I don't know all my followers or people who watch them all my stories. So it's like, I don't really know if I want to share everything with them, about my kids or where I am or anything like that. So you can do that, but at the same time, it's almost more complicated for me to like, okay, so who's my close friends? Like, I don't share. I'm pretty much an open book. If I feel like it's something I don't want everyone to know, I won't share it at all on Instagram. So I haven't used the close friends thing in the longest time, like probably almost 2 years. I think I know another agent friend of mine, she uses that more for making fun of her clients. And so I'm assuming it's just like agents in it that, maybe you don't want potential clients to see that. So that would be I think that's something that she does, but I don't have any specific strategies or in there. My whole goal through stories is to just like build that relationship with people. So I show up pretty authentically to everyone. And if it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. So, but you can use it if it's more like, private stuff that you don't want the whole world knowing. But in my case, I just end up not posting it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions? One thing I just thought I'd share in closing, we just had Chelsea Pites, I hope I'm saying her name right, on the podcast 1 or 2 weeks ago. The episode's not out yet, but I'm excited to share that one with you guys. She was really, really insightful. And one of the big things that she shared with us is, David, are you ever like recording just a private video for somebody new that you've met, whether it's a potential client or a prospect, or even just like a referral agent?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what she was saying was a lot of people then will take that video and send it via text to the person. But she said, what you should do is consider filming that video of yourself, just 30 seconds. Hey, David, so nice to meet you at the EXP conference in Vegas. I'm looking forward to sending you some referrals in San Diego. I should then DM you that video, because I guess that the way that the algorithm works is that if Instagram sees me and you sending each other private videos, which sounds funny, I am then more likely to show up in your feed
Yes.
than
Yes.
if we are just exchanging messages.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
just think of it, if you know that